Hi kids, welcome back to our series, How to Ruin Your Life. It seems that we're naturally programmed to be consumed with ourselves, our own interests and our own desires. When we begin to talk, one of our first words we learn to say is mine. There is a tendency in all of us to focus on our own little world. We tend to put ourselves at number one position, way ahead of others. That kind of selfish living never produces a life of joy. In fact, it usually does the opposite. Today, we're going to learn about a biblical king who lived about 3,000 years ago. This king started out serving the Lord, but fame and riches turned him away from God, and he spent many years living selfishly for himself. In today's lesson, we're going to learn about this king and the dangers of living only to please yourself. More on that in a little while, but first, I want you to watch this video.
It's time to ask yourself, who is the most important person in your life?
My mom?
Nope.
My best friend.
Not a chance.
My little puppy dog.
No. The most important people in my life are me, myself, and I. And it can be that way for you too, with the Me Magnet. The Me Magnet helps you live for yourself in a whole new way. You can have what you want when you want it. And forget about everyone else. Who are they? I can tell you who they aren't. You. Ever been in a long line having to wait your turn? Well, the Me Magnet will take care of that. Forget about everyone else. Did your brother get a better toy than you for Christmas? The Me Magnet will take care of that. After all, he doesn't deserve it, you do. The Me Magnet, it's a great way to live.
Are you kidding me? The Me Magnet is a great way to ruin your life. You don't want your life to be all about you. God wants you to put others first. When you put yourself number one, that's called selfishness. In the Bible, King Solomon knew all about putting himself number one. He gave himself everything he wanted. He did whatever he wanted, not thinking about how it affected everyone else. In the end, King Solomon found out that living for yourself is a meaningless way to live. You're going to learn all about that today in your lesson called The Dangers of Being Number One. It's all about what happens when you put yourself first. This is Ashton, and I'll see you next time on How to Ruin Your Life.
Wally, is that you?
No, mi nombre no es Wacky Wally.
Why are you speaking Spanish?
Mi vaso explotado. Estoy puro gordito.
All right, cut it out, Wally. You know, I know a little Spanish.
Then you know that I said I have a new superhero name.
No, you said your spleen exploded and then you called yourself a fat little donkey.
Oh, I guess my Spanish is a little rusty.
Yeah.
No matter. I am no longer Wacky Wally. After doing a lot of hard thinking, I decided to become numero uno.
Numero uno? That means number one.
Sí, number one, as in me. I am number one. There are a lot of people that are always whining and asking for my help. Wally, get my cat out of the tree. Wally, my grandmother fell and I can't get up. Wally, my grandma fell on my cat. And you want to know something? I'm sick of it. From now on, I'm going to be my own personal superhero. I'm going to make myself number one, above everybody else. That's why I am numero uno.
Wally, that's not good at all. All you're doing is hurting yourself.
I am not hurting myself. Oh, ow. Well, and besides, what's wrong with putting myself first? Forget everybody else.
You know, putting yourself first is called selfishness, and selfishness is a sin. Just think back of all the times you've needed help. What if everyone else was only thinking of themselves and ignoring you? You'd be pretty mad, right?
Well, yeah, I would. But this is different. I'm trying to do something important. I'm trying to make myself happy.
Well, your happiness isn't going to last forever. You know, the Bible tells us that living just for yourself is meaningless.
Meaningless? I don't want a meaningless life. I'm supposed to be a superhero. You've got to help me. How can I live for others?
You know, that's exactly what we're talking about in our lesson today. We must follow Jesus' example of putting others first. You know, Jesus prayed for others, he served others, he fed others. In fact, everything he did was for others. If we want to be like that and serve others, we have to become a servant, just like Jesus.
Oh, I will. Jesus is the greatest superhero of all time. I'm going to be a servant just like him.
Good.
Is there anything I can do for you right now?
Well, actually, you can hang out backstage because we need to get to our lesson.
Oh, you got it. I'll go backstage and vacuum.
Ah.
Yeah, and I'll wash the dishes and I'll mop. Yeah, I'll mop.
Cool.
I'll mop the vacuum.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll do that. Anyway, boys and girls, I got to go right now and do servanthood stuff. I'll see you later. And if you ever need a superhero, I'm Wacky Wally. Just call me Wacky Wally. Away!
Bye, Wally. Our Bible story today is about a man named Solomon. Solomon was a very young man when he became king of Israel. One night, God appeared to Solomon and asked him, "What do you want? Ask and I will give it to you." Solomon answered, "I would like you to give me wisdom. I want to be a wise ruler so I can govern this nation of yours." God honored Solomon's request. He gave Solomon great wisdom to lead and guide the nation of Israel. Since Solomon hadn't been selfish and asked for gold and riches, God decided to bless him with all that as well. Over the years, Solomon accumulated a lot of riches, gold, and power. He was a very popular king, but Solomon ended up getting a lot of that go to his head. He started becoming very selfish and self-centered. He put himself as number one in his life and gave himself whatever he wanted. He thought to himself, "I will give myself whatever I want. I will try everything." And that's exactly what he did. He gave himself everything he wanted. He wasn't happy with a little. He wanted a lot. He even married hundreds of wives. Why? Because he could. He was king. He gave himself whatever he wanted. You might think this made him very happy. You might think that having all that money and fame and living for himself allowed him to have more fun and be happier than anyone else. But that is not what happened at all. In fact, the opposite happened. Instead of becoming happy and joyful, King Solomon became very sad and depressed. After all, he was living for himself. Life was all about him. King Solomon wrote a book that's in the Bible. It's called the Book of Ecclesiastes. In Ecclesiastes chapter 2, Solomon talks about how he lived for himself and gave himself whatever he wanted. Solomon said, "Meaningless." All of it was meaningless. Solomon learned that we're going to learn today in our lesson. Living for yourself will definitely ruin your life. Rather living for yourself and putting yourself as number one, most important person, you must think about others and work hard to help others. You're going to learn more about that, but first, let's check in with Gertrude and Gadget so we can learn what you gotta know.
Oh, hi kids. I'm just finishing up giving Gadget here a bath with this amazing Scentalicious doggy bath that I got for just $19.99 on a TV special. It's supposed to rid Gadget of any smells from wet dog to rollin' something dead smell. I really hope it works because I just discovered the cat repellent spray I bought definitely repels cats, but it attracts skunks. They should have mentioned that in the disclaimer. We were out for a walk in the woods and Gadget caught sight of a black and white cat. He thought he would get a little closer to see if that cat repellent worked. And would you know it, the cat turned out to be a skunk. And the skunk just loved the smell of the cat repellent and decided to share a little repellent of its own. I considered leaving Gadget in the garage until the skunk odor wore off. But then I thought how selfish that would be. I was putting my comfort ahead of poor little Gadget's comfort. And then I remembered our what you gotta know phrase for today. I will put others ahead of myself. And I decided to give Gadget a bath. I'm really glad I remembered this doggy Scentalicious bath gel. Let's see if it worked. Much better, Gadget, although it might take a few more baths to completely rid you of the skunk odor. My favorite TV show's about to come on, but you're my little doggy friend, and I'm going to put you first and give you another bath. So kids, anytime, and I mean anytime, someone asks you, what you gotta know? You tell them, I will put others ahead of myself. And that is what you gotta know. I'm Gertrude, and this is my friend Gadget, and we are tuning out.
Today we are talking about another foolish mistake that will ruin your life. That mistake, living for yourself. Too many people put themselves at the number one most important position in their lives. They live their life as if to say, I am number one. All they think about is what I want, what I need, and what I deserve. Have you ever seen someone who lives as if they are number one? Perhaps you've seen them at school. When the class is lining up, this person cuts in front of everyone and doesn't feel bad about it. Perhaps you've seen them in your neighborhood. When it's time to choose a game, they have to always be the one who decides the game. It's always what they want to play, and it doesn't matter what anybody else wants to do. Perhaps you see them in your family. Your brother or your sister will not share their things, or want the last cookie or the biggest slice of cake. They are the only ones who can play with their video game. No one else, just them. There's a big problem with living like I'm number one and living for yourself. Putting myself first is called selfishness. Selfishness says, I'm number one. Selfishness only looks out for me. Selfishness doesn't care about how much anybody else hurts or how anybody else feels. Selfishness is a foolish mistake, and it will ruin your life. Selfishness decides to buy candy instead of giving money in the offering to help missionaries. Selfishness decides to only hang out with the people you like instead of those who really need friends. Selfishness decides not to share and keeps everything for me. Selfishness is all about living for myself. After all, I'm number one. God did not create us to be selfish people who only live for themselves. Why? Living for myself is meaningless. Solomon found this out the hard way. He lived his whole life with the attitude, I'm number one. He only thought about the big next house he was going to build for himself, and the next pile of gold he could get for himself, and how many things he could do to make himself happy. Sadly, he learned that living for himself was meaningless. It was a sad end to King Solomon's life. God doesn't want us to live a meaningless life. He doesn't want us to live as if I'm number one. Not at all. God wants us to think of others, not just ourselves. I must follow Jesus' example and put others first. Everywhere he went, Jesus put others first. He was God. He could have lived in a beautiful palace and had servants waiting on him hand and foot. But instead he traveled on foot from town to town with no home of his own, and instead of saying, I'm number one, Jesus showed us that others were more important. He prayed for others, helped others, healed others, fed others, and even bled and died for the sins of others. Jesus did not live for himself. Jesus lived in a way that put others ahead of himself. It's not easy, but we must follow Jesus' example. He never once demanded that people treat him as the king that he is. Instead, he took on the role of a servant and put others first. himself last. It's time for each of us to stop living for ourselves and begin to live for God and others. Our power verse says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Philippians 2:3. That's exactly how Jesus lived his life on earth, for others. He is the example of how we should live our lives. Okay, now it's time to play our game to find out how much you remember from today's lesson. For every question you get right, give yourself a score of 100 points. 1,000 points is a perfect score. Here we go. How did you do? Did you get them all right? I'm sure you did. Well, kids, that's all for now. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look upon you and give you peace. Amen. Now let's sing along with Bethel Kids as they sing about the greatest Christmas gift ever. Have a wonderful Christmas and see you next week. Bye for now.
Let
share.